Hey y'all, what's poppin'? How y'all doing? Happy new month. It is February 3rd. Okay, people are saying love month, the second month of the year, whatever you want to call it. We're here. Thank you, God. So, the first thing we're going to be talking about is first time home buying. I'm going to give you the blueprint to first time home buying. So, if you are a first time home buyer or you're thinking about it, the research says that it takes people about 7 to 6 months to actually buy their first property. But within those months, they're deciding, they're thinking, they're researching, they're talking to mortgage agents, realtors, whatever they need to do, or whoever they need to talk to find out if the home buying process is really for them and if they are actually going to do it. So we're going to go through 8 different steps. So let us begin. We're talking about home buying. I'm giving you the first time home buyers the blueprint to a home ownership. So here's everything you need to know about first time home buying. Buying a home for the first time is a challenging, overwhelming process that often has made this category of buyers asking several questions. This is all you need to know and how to get yourself prepared for home buying. So this is kind of already all over the place, but I just wanted to quickly mention that I'm a home buyer myself. I'm a part owner for a pre-construction that closed last month, and we are now in interim occupancy, so it's not fully closed yet. But I'm going to be sharing more about my experience in another video, but in this one, we're just going to be talking about home buying in general. So what I did was called a joint venture, and that's another good way to get into home ownership if you are really desiring to do so. So let's understand the finances. So accessing your financial situation, it's important to know your credit score, your budget, and managing debt. So saving for a down payment. There are different strategies to save and how much you'll need based on the type of loan. You need to explore different strategies for saving down payment. The true cost of buying a home comprises of closing costs, property taxes, home ownership insurance, and ongoing maintenance. This is most of the things that are not talked about when it comes to home ownership. For this category of home, the developers do not disclose the exact amount involved, although not intentionally. The third thing is loan options and the mortgage basics. So we need to understand the mortgage types. So there are fixed and adjustable, FHA loans, VA loans, and other programs for first-time home buyers. Any first-time buyer should know and understand the mortgage types. So we're going to define these. How much house can you afford? So there is debt to income ratio and what lenders are looking for. There is affordability, which is a big consideration when buying a home. Whether it's your first home or your second, third, however many homes you have, it's important. The rule of thumb is using the debt to income ratio. So basically, debt to income ratio is a percentage that compares how much you owe each month to how much you earn. It's an important factor in an overall financial health. So debt to income ratio is important because that is what lenders are looking at when it comes to pre-qualifying you for a home purchase. Canada uses something called stress test. The stress test basically looks at how much income you have, and based on the interest rate, when it goes up or not, if you can still afford the home that you're living in. So down payments and private mortgage insurance. What you need to know about down payments and PMI. A down payment is money that is set aside in your bank account before a lender provides you with the difference between the money you have raised and the cost of the home that you are buying. In Canada, in order to get a mortgage, the government provides that you be able to put between 5% to 20% of the value of the home before a lender provides a mortgage. Lenders can be banks, lending institutions, and a private lender. When putting down less than 20%, a mortgage insurance is required. When it comes to the home search process, it's important to choose the right neighborhood. So factors to consider are proximity to home, school, amenities, safety, also place of worship as well. Another thing is working with a realtor or a real estate agent. So how to find and choose the right agent, and why is it important to have professional guidance? When you're buying a home, you need to use a free service offered by a real estate agent, whether you are buying a resale or a pre-construction property. Some first-time home buyers go through this process on their own without any knowledge, and when they get into issues, they complain and they wonder why. Sometimes it's because they don't have enough research or enough people to help them. So you should look and choose for the right agents for professional guidance. And you're going to also need to emphasize that you're not spending or saving any money by not using an agent. An agent has fiduciary duties to work at your best interest, and going directly to an agent doesn't help you either. Let's say I wanted to buy a property on my own and I want to go through the seller's agent. I can't do that. Making a wish list is important. You need to prioritize your must-haves versus your nice-to-haves. So spaces, location, number of bedrooms, those are your nice to haves. Your home search requires making a reasonable wish list with priorities and your must haves versus nice to haves, and also non negotiables. Figure out what your non negotiable is and stick to that, because it's going to make a difference, and that should be what you should prioritize. The fifth thing is home inspections and appraisals. I want to talk about why they matter. So home inspections matter as they help in avoiding costly repairs down the line, as well as probably reducing the purchase price of the property that you are purchasing. So you need to understand the appraisal process, why it's needed, and how it impacts your offer and loan. For a home buyer, appraisal is an expert estimate on the value of the property. The process involves looking at a comparable sale in the last 60 to 90 days of the subject property. When a lender wants to provide financing, it wants to ensure that it is doing so for a right value. This is very critical for lenders are not willing to provide financing above an appraised value. So whenever there is a higher difference, the home buyer, will be required to cover the difference. So making an offer and negotiating. We're going to go into that next. How to make a competitive offer. So tips for constructing your offer to appeal the sellers. Let's get into that next. So some strategies to help make an offer will depend on the nature of the market, whether it is a competitive or a normal market. In a competitive market, you should be constructing your offer. And then when it comes to negotiating repairs and price, also, negotiation is important. A great tool for negotiating repairs in a resale property is making sure that you can carry out a home inspection. Some inspection is to know the health, financial, and environmental conditions of the property. So when it comes to properties, it's also important for your agent to get and obtain the status certificate. So then when your offer is accepted, this deposit is added towards your down payment. These are important as it makes room for monies in case of any eventualities. What happens in closing? Here is a breakdown of a final step from reviewing documents to transferring ownership. The closing process is usually performed by a real estate lawyer who will be engaging to assist in reviewing all the APS, so agreement of purchase and sale, carrying out all the title searches, so checking for any liens and encumbrances, carrying other land due diligence, preparing statement of adjustments, calculating the balance payable upon closing, and outstanding monies that you should be paying, and ensuring the title is transferred to you as the new lawful owner. So as you can see, becoming a homeowner is no joke. It's not little. You have to bring a lawyer in this because there's so much that goes into it, because this ownership is now coming to you. It's not going to be on you. So if there's any lien, encumbrances, anything that happened years ago that you don't know of, and it did not come up during your process of buying the property, and now you find out 5 years later, it's still on you, and you still have to pay the price for that. So it's not little. Home ownership is huge. And you got to know, is this really for me? Am I going to be able to live like this? Am I going to be happy in the long run? In the beginning, you might not be happy because things happen, but in the end, it's worth it because of the value that's being gained. And again, ownership is pretty big. So beyond the down payment, what additional fees and expenses buyers should expect at closing? So beyond the down payment you have already made, there are other additional fees and expenses that you should expect. Dun, dun, dun. These are basically the land transfer tax, the lawyer fees. However, when purchasing a pre-construction property, there are other additional charges that include but are not limited to. So there's something called Terrion employment. So for Canadians, development charges, utilities that are hookup charges, tree planting, survey plant fees. Dang, a whole lot of, basically. And then post purchase, what happens after you're purchasing? So you got to settle in now. So you have to worry about home maintenance basics, regular upkeep tips, and budgeting for maintenance. So cost of maintenance isn't cheap, whether you are handy or not. You as a new homeowner should be able to take care of little basic things. For example, being able to change a dead bulb. So if you are not, you got to look it up or find someone. So if you know you're not a handy girly, you're not a handyman. Sorry, most men are handy, but if you're not a handyman, that's why there are people that are. So but that's going to require more money. So the less you know how to do, the more you have to spend money on, which you don't want. So there's also stuff like YouTube to help you learn how to do certain home maintenance things if you don't want to pay that extra cash. But if you're okay and you're financially able to do that, then go right ahead and do it. What to do in the first 6 months. So you got to manage utilities, change addresses, and get familiar with your home. You should know how to set up your utilities with the providers and how to manage utilities, paying attention to how you consume because it is not mandatory and you will be paying higher bills. So when it comes to utilities, people always ask, like, how much is utilities? We don't know. Utilities is only as high as you're using. If you're using more electricity, if you're using more Wi-Fi, if you're using more hot water, if you're plugging things into the wall and it's in the wall for hours or days, then that's running. If you have your laptop plugged in or a light bulb on, the light in your room is on all day, even on a sunny day, that is light. That is your light bill. So the longer that's on, the higher your bill is going to be. So that's just where we're going to end things off. That's just everything you need to know about home ownership, the blueprint. So let me know how I did. Let me know what you think. Let me know, something that you took away that maybe you knew of and weren't sure, or I gave you clarity on, or, you learned something new, whatever it is. Let's chat it up and let us talk ownership. If you want to become a homeowner, let us know. And we are trying to dedicate this year and focus on home ownership and those that are interested in home ownership. So come over to the Easy team and let us help you make real estate easy for you. Get it? Easy team, easy. Yeah.